Thank you, guys. I can't quite see you. It's very dark up in the back and very bright in here. We have about 44 minutes to discuss some of the issues, and we're safe and sorry. We'd like to welcome everybody in the audience to send questions. There's no risk for you guys. You're just safe. No risk there at all. No one's going to know your name, your last name, and whether your public speaking skills are good or bad. It's just all anonymous, but we'll be happy to have energy in the room from that. We have 3 stages for our conversation. We'll get a bit of intro of what you do in terms of digitization in your respective institutions. We're going to move to the good stories, where you can sort of see the benefits of that. We're going to move to the perhaps more risky interfaces and in instances where things have gone not the way they planned, but perhaps good learnings from that. And then we're going to move to more specific culture issues. Being an anthropologist, I believe culture defines quite a few things, the way we work. So questions on private culture, corporate culture, and digitization and innovation, and then public culture. So we have all parties involved. Let's start from that, and then we'll probably take some questions. As I said in our pre-panel hearing and conversation, I would like us to just be as open as possible, whether your corporate policy allows to share sort of pitfalls to make this time as productive as possible, as well as interactive among each other. So we would have a productive time together for the audience. On that note, shall we begin from Estonia? In our minds, Estonia is doing everything 50 years ahead of us. So let's see what it looks like from Estonia inside, some Ministry of Economics and Digitalization. Perhaps let's see where do you stand in the general architecture of things, and how have you been moving on with digitization?
Thank you. Actually, right now we are actually forming or writing our new strategy, and you told that we are like 50 years.
This is what we think, obviously.
Before,
who knows if it's
maybe 15. But let's see. And
that's very humble of you. Just 15 years ahead of everybody else, but that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And until now, I think so that we are really have built quite a good working digital society. But now we would like to go forward, step forward, and now we are thinking and writing and dreaming about a personalized state. And it doesn't mean that it have to be only in digital channels, but using different technological possibilities, we are now trying to rebuild the, sort of new society, so that everybody is involved and everybody can use public services. For example, when you are not very good in your computer skills are not very good. In Estonia, it means that you are a bit of trouble when using public services. But instead of that, we should use, for example, AI, so that the people who are not so highly skilled in digital, they can use, for example, phone, and then AI can really be sure that, okay, it's you, and you can make all your things via phone call, for example.
This is the third minute of a conversation. We have personalized state, we have AI, and in trouble if you're out of the loop. And a new society. And this is the third minute of the panel. I'm quite keen to hear more of that. Now let's move on from Estonia. We're going to go back to this, obviously.
Yeah.
This is very interesting, but I just want to get some room from Finland. Kalitam, let's see where are we in terms of your profile.
Yes, so city of Tampere is the second biggest city of Finland, and that gives us some sort of obligation to aim to be as a forerunner in digitalization. We are also a smart city. We want to be smarter city, and in the future we want to be like wise city. And that's why we are building our infrastructure at the moment towards 6G, and also we launched the very first metaverse vision in spring. And by the way, now the Finnish government is launching their own metaverse strategy. So we were kind of a forerunners in that sense as well. We are currently building digital twins. We are exploring how we can utilize the digital world more efficiently, how we can engage citizens through digital twins in urban planning, in collecting information, sharing their experiences from the environment. That goes back to the city planners table. They can also use the digital twins as their working tool. And then something happens, and then we are all of a sudden in the metaverse, and that's also very much about citizen engagement and how we get people involved, because we want to get everybody on board and that no one's left behind.
Thank you. Move on, Iveta, to Latvian Investment Development Agency. What's in the pipeline? What interesting projects are we having, and where the digitization makes sense in your case?
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for having me as a panelist. Glad to be here again on the stage of 5G. And yeah, as an agency, we are closely connected to digitalization in many ways. We are responsible for public support instruments, including digitalization grants. And digitalization is also essential in other public support programs because it is not a choice. It is a necessity for survival in almost every field of activity to increase productivity, to increase export via this increased productivity. And yeah, let's say now we are in the stage of digital transformation, and of course this process is the new normal for almost every company, and I believe that many of us are in some stages of, or some sub-stages of digitalization, of digital transformation. And yeah, it involves improving and restructuring business processes, but this story is not only about technologies. This is as well as about how to change companies' internal processes, employees' mindset, and the model of how things have worked. And yeah, and as to our agency, to improve the experience of businesses in using different services, we have created a state aid platform for entrepreneurs, www.business.gov.lv. This is a personalized tool where companies can find information on various sectors they are interested in, get an overview of state aid services, and they can apply as well for support via this platform. And we are already working on the platform's further development, so-called version 2.0, expanding the range of services. It means that in the nearest future, not only services provided by the Investment and Development Agency will be available there, but we will add there also services which might be useful for entrepreneurs. And in our ambition is also to use AI solutions in these further developments. And yeah, what else? As an institution, we are also interested in developing our internal digital solutions to speed the processes and become more efficient. And we have successfully implemented CRM, where we collect data online on what is going on in expert promotion and investment attraction. And yeah, one short notice about our next goal. It is in digitalization. It is to automate or to go towards automation of the process of evaluating support requests.
Okay. We're going to go back to that. What does digitization mean, and how do we know if we arrived? Is there some maturity degree of level in digitization? So when are we digital enough? Uldis, yes. Ted, being a large player in this country, perhaps not just the country, in the Baltics in general, your journey, your best shots?
Well, honestly to say, we are business and we are developing solutions, and Actually, we are a group of talented people experimenting with different kinds of technologies and trying to combine them and make it to one solution. So our mission is to bring technology to businesses, to public sector, and to make good services for our clients, first of all, and in general for society. So we just are at the end phase of our digital transformation.
Inside?
Inside, final phase. It took a bit longer as we expected.
And how is that? 2 years, 4 years?
Like 1 year,
1 year
more than we expected, and we expected like 2.5 years somewhere. And it costed a little bit more as we expected.
As usual.
And it turned out at the end that we implemented a bit different solution we imagined ourselves at the beginning.
A little longer, a little more expensive, and a little different.
And a little different.
Just like life.
So it's actually, the question is about your ability to adapt to changing situation, because like, let's take 9 months back, nobody knew a word combination ChatGPT at all. Yeah, and now it's there, and now it's changing, and now it's expanding to like 27 different kind of specific solutions. So our task is to adapt to new reality, adapt to new technology, use it, and then combine it with other unexpected data sources and other technologies you can have. And also we are experimenting on smart cities. We just launched this automated panel who can detect air quality, temperature, wind direction, coal, micro parts in the air, or something else. So there's new technology coming every week. So the question is how fast we are, how innovative we are to combine it to other technology available today for us.
Which is an interesting point where the technology is really there. The question is how fast and quickly can we adapt it and incorporate it in our working culture and then help others. As you said, we're a bunch of talented people trying to help public sector and private sector. Speaking of which, let's go back to Tallinn and Estonia for a bit. So these three really, I would say, ambitious terms. A new society you're trying to build here with this new affair, trying to not bypass anyone who might be left behind, and using AI and the notion of, let me go back to that, personalized state. At least one of those three I'd like to tackle in your next couple of minutes. So let's start with the most intriguing one. Personalized state. What does that mean? That sounds equally intriguing and a little creepy too.
Yeah.
I would like to have my state perhaps not so personalized.
Yeah.
How about Estonian state? How personalized is that going to be?
Actually, it's a good question, I have to admit. Actually, I think that until now we have designed services. We are using more and more service design, and actually we are designing services for some target groups, but instead of that we really should design service for this special individual.
So no longer groups, but one by one, like a tailor.
Yeah, tailor-made, but yes, we have to be really, how to say it, still people should trust the state. And we cannot use the data on bad way or use the data too much, etc., etc. There might be, should be special boundaries but still we can make quite many things better than they have been until now. And yes, I know that personalized state, it might sound a bit creepy, it might sound like Orwell or something like that, but we just have to know our limits and really take into account what and how really people really feel, because what is very good is that Estonians really trust e-services, and there is no problem that I'm voting or etc. etc. For example, last year we had elections. More people were voting than going to the offices.
So when you say people trust that, I have two questions to dial back. First one, obviously, if you guys are thinking about, and when I say guys, I mean Estonian state. I don't want to be flippant here. Is that you obviously have taken risks And how did you arrive, obviously that's a long question, but if you could give us 2 or 3 pointers, how did you arrive at the condition where you are even imagining these kind of services which are no longer dilated on groups but personalized? So, young people, older people, not the case, but, each age and each gender group might be addressed specifically. How did you address the kind of culture that you can now imagine and create services? That's a really risky enterprise even for a private sector, not to mention a state institution.
Yes, and like I told, that we have to really think what we are doing and have to take into account that actually the data. Right now I think that we are a bit thinking that the data belongs to the state, but actually the personal data belongs to the person itself. And we have to really think about the consent services, etc., etc. It might mean that everybody doesn't want to have personalized state and personalized services, but the ones who would like to have it, they have an opportunity to use it.
So one conclusion we can draw here, so we're getting more productive here, is that as long as the services meet the need, people are willing to share their data and willing to go that road less traveled and entrust that foggy future to you guys in the state to make sure that their services are being digitized. Is that something of a scenario we're looking at here?
Yes.
And obviously you're building on success which has been here with e-residency, e-voting and other services.
Yes, yes.
Back to Tampere. Wise cities, wise citizen, and where are we going in terms of the personnel inside the municipality? How did you get these very special people that are working in Tampere that can create wise cities? Is there some incentive to work for municipality? In other words, work for municipalities, public sector, is not the most prestigious thing, at least not in where we live here. How did you get these talented people to create these fantastic solutions?
Well, I think the legacy that we have in the city is that the city directors and the leaders and also the political leaders, there's always been this very good spirit, a very bold spirit to go and try and test something new. I think that is somehow built into our city DNA. And even though there might be some political quarrels about some issues, there's always some kind of a solution that we can go forward with. And that boldness is something that we thrive our success somehow. About how getting like very intelligent staff who understands technology and new developments. I think this is a big challenge for us, to be frank, because I think understanding technology is very difficult for public sector staff.
And therefore?
Because they are not tech people who are working there mainly. Of course, there's ICT unit and some technical people there, but I think the most of the people who are working for the city are like generalists. And I'm a living example of a person who is not a tech people. I'm a bit tech oriented maybe. And I also want to embrace the change, which is obvious, which helps. But it's very difficult for public sector staff to understand all the possibilities that technology has to offer at the moment. And that's why we need more public-private partnership, dialogue between different companies, and also active cooperation with the private sector.
Let me go focus on this one. Let's just focus on the causalities. One thing you mentioned is the piloting and testing. So how do you go about that? How do you encourage the boldness to test things which haven't been tried? Some people say, well, this is for risk capitalists, this is for private sector. We as public institutions should not be taking risks because, well, that may cause taxpayers' funding to be wasted because innovations may not work. like my microphone right now. And how do you go about that boldness? You know, it sounds great on paper, the boldness, but what does that mean if innovations fail? How do you justify that in terms of state control? How do you go about that instead of citizens? You know, you paid someone so many thousands of euros and it didn't work. You know, people get fired. You know, they get. What happens then?
And it's always the question like we're using taxpayers' money. So
and the answer to that challenge is.
I think we have to.
It's a tough question. We can skip that and we can discuss
No.
that.
I was just restructuring my thoughts. There needs to be a room for failure. I think that's the key driver for innovation in public sector. We need to seek external funding for innovations.
And by that you mean EU funding?
EU funding, like...
Which allows for that.
Yeah.
So here, the way how we go about innovation in public sector is EU funding, which allows for failure. I think it's a decent takeaway from the conversation. Okay?
And yes, I think also like internal cooperation, like working across units and departments is also the key thing.
A different working culture.
Take everybody involved and on board.
Okay. Iveta, back to Leah, helping to digitize companies, which is your flagship focus. How do you see, what have been some of the successes here? How you can say Leah actually embodies the culture of change, embodies the culture of digitization, that you can say, well, this is the before and after you guys been working.
Okay, yeah. If we talk specifically about Investment and Development Agency of Latvia, then a very important step for us was to move to a CRM. And yeah, this was an essential step to the transition to data-driven decision-making. And yeah, now we can be more detailed about our clients' need, but actually it was quite challenging at the very beginning because we had to change our mindset and to make a habit to enter data on a regular basis in CRM and to link meetings with CRM and clients and to integrate different systems. But yeah, now we can be more detailed about targets and results achieved. It means that we can measure our input or investment, be it time or money, versus outcome. We can measure achieved leads in investment projects or reached audience in marketing activities or signed contracts in export deals and so on. So you can
keeping a thing on check regularly.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And actually, I believe that main winner is our client, as we can offer him or her more specific solutions tailored to their needs at that exact stage of their business plan.
Are we moving to personalized state there as well, similar to Estonia? So companies in future will have tailor-made solutions. When they call up you, when they call up Leah and they say, well, I want to digitize my inner workings of my culture. I want to digitize my printing press. I want to digitize my production line. Will they be able to have a tailored approach from you guys as well before that?
For this kind
is that the future looking at?
Partly yes, and I already mentioned that we have a state public aid program grants for digitalization, and actually companies can do all you mentioned through this digitalization grants.
It's happening right now.
And as I already also mentioned, our platform for entrepreneurs, business Go LV, this platform is also quite personalized, where we often personalized information for companies already tailored for specific markets they are interested in or specific business needs.
The future is bright. Some of the takeaways here. 3.5 years, a little more expensive than you thought and a little more directional than you expected. what are the best shots you can take from that 3.5 years of experience of transforming your organization so we can deliver on that change, on that mindset of openness, I would say? Can you share some of the top 3 things that we can take away, that we can install that culture into our companies and our working cultures?
Well, the good news is that our solution is delivering better results as we expected also, which is part of the success. But the main principle is to stay open and adapt, as I already told, and I have some good news for public sector. If you are afraid to fail, that's why we are here. Look for partners, and that's what we are constantly doing. It's normal process for us, because that's the thing we are seeing, at least in Latvia with public sector. There is not only EU funds available, there is 725 regulations about how you should follow them.
And not fail.
Yeah, not to fail, not to take any risks. So there is definitely some change needed, but you can use some partners, bigger companies, medium-sized companies, or startups. Startups especially are very keen to fail very often.
They love to fail.
They love to fail, so let's help them. And the other thing is that we do believe that public sector don't need such a deep technology understanding. Of course, in some departments it's required, but use partners. In some of our solutions, we have good tech understanding for some part of the solution, but then we use some even smarter companies as we are. So they are specialists in some air sensors, some other technology, video analytics, something else, word translation from tilde, some others. So you can join some.
Are we saying it's a calculated risk right there? Is it a calculated risk that we're taking? Public sector is partnering up with AI, partnering with companies to make sure that the risks are being calculated, and then they decrease the amount of failure there.
Yeah, there is a risk, but it's less risk if I go to the professional dentist instead of trying to find somebody help me without any basic knowledge. It goes for IT security the same way, it goes for anything the same way.
Okay, moving on, back to Estonia here. So, is this the route you guys are following back in Estonia, that you do in-house, or do you procure a lot of services outside? And are these Estonian companies, are they global companies that do implement the vision of personalized state with no child left behind?
Actually, it works on both ways. We have IT houses. Every ministry in Estonia has its own IT house. We have IT houses.
Not department, but an IT house.
Yes.
Is that a peculiar choice of words, or there's a meaning behind that? IT house.
It's different organization which provides IT solutions to all the organizations in one ministry, and we have IT houses where there are in-house developers, and we have quite many of them who don't have almost at all. Only maintenance is what they are doing. But of course, we are building our services with private sector, and we have done it until the beginning of our e-government. And I think that actually it works quite well. But yeah, you mentioned procurement. It's sometimes it's not so easy.
Not easy
because
at all, no.
when we used waterfall, it was easy because we know what we want, when we want, etc. But now, when we are really trying to be agile, it's not so easy anymore. And yes, sometimes the law people say that there are possibilities, but then it turns out that no.
So can you give us one thing not to do, that we wouldn't be doing that here in Latvia? We would learn from the best and from you guys. And what are the things you've learned the hard way? To think, well, waterfall was one of them. What else is that we should take away from this conversation? How to not arrive at failures, but to arrive safely on the other side?
Actually, I think that we were quite technology-driven. But first you have to think about your user. And after that, what is solution, what is the technology, etc. Because now we are moving do this vision, but yes, you have to start with the user.
So intuitive, user-centric,
Yes.
and all the other issues we're accustomed to in
Yes.
using Amazon or Apple.
For example.
So basically, the services that we're getting from the public should be as intuitive and as easy to use as elsewhere.
Yes.
That's a tall order, but I think one we should aspire to. Okay, back to Tampere. What are the things that to take away what we should not be doing? So waterfall's out. Focusing on technology instead of the end user is out. What is that you would perhaps add to this list, growing list of not to do or avoid?
Well, I could add, like, what you should do is that build use cases around the technology. That gives you the possibility to sell the solution.
Is there an example that you could give us to highlight what you mean?
Yeah, for example, City of Tampere procured the IoT platform for the city like a couple of years back. And now it has been launching, and now it's up and running and operating. And basically, there's only like a couple of people who know like what the city is doing with the IoT platform. And we, through different projects, we can build different use cases. So we can use the IoT platform for smart lighting control. We can use it for road and traffic, road maintenance, traffic sensoring, crowdsourcing how people are moving around the city, and it collects all the information, and it's basically up to you how you want to visualize the data from the IoT platform. So each of these use cases help your colleagues to understand, okay, there might be something in for me in this solution as well.
In other words, making technology more human and understandable, and then use that to sell it either to taxpayers or politicians to fund that project. Is that something along the lines of where we see that? Well, was that a side? Do you agree or not agree? I'm just trying to watch your body language here. Is that would you side with a comment here from Tampere?
Yeah, I think Tampere is doing the right things. They have a good result, so why not to learn from them in that case?
Do you see something along those lines in Latvia? How do we sell new technology? How do we avoid technology as an end result, but a service as an end result? What have been your experiences working back in Latvia?
I'm not so sad about Latvia like you. I believe we're closer to Estonia and doing some good things, because I also believe that the task for the public sector or for private sector like ourselves is to define the end solution we believe the clients will like to use, love to use, understand it, and use it on a daily basis or every day, like parking systems, some other systems. So if they are user-friendly, everybody likes them. We have 2 parking systems in Riga, and we both know which one is a good one and which one we don't like to use, really. Is it true?
Well.
Supported by lonely voice from audience. Thank you, Wald. Yeah, so if you will develop a really good system, everybody will love it. And then ask your users, and don't think too much about what kind of technology, how you interconnect wires or do something else. That's the job of experts. But the job of public sector is to define what is the end solution.
Yeah, let's just park here, to use the analogy here, for a minute or two. Let's just take this case. Parking, which is a big issue in our cities, and there's a lot of things which have gone wrong, and we've had same parking principles for a long time. From your experience, who should define the specification for instances like parking? Should that come from the private sector, who say, I have a great solution, buy it from me? Or should it be the public sector that says, well, this is what we want because we saw that in working in Tampere or Stockholm or Berlin? Or both and? Who wants to have a go at that?
I think in our case, it goes both ways. Sometimes it's the city who determines what we want, And sometimes there's a company who has a great idea and they approach city and, hey, we want to test this and let's try this out together. And that is the way how cooperation usually starts.
And can I help you with that?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so how would you go about that? Sometimes you would think of the specification and procure the service and avoid pitfalls and avoid the risk. Sometimes you would ask solution directly from a company. How do you go about that as a city to avoid sort of taxpayers' money wasting and corruption and other sort of scary issues that go around that?
Well,
how do you make a competition for a solution? There's only one solution out there. How do you make a competition for that? There's only one provider in the market, and you want the best solution out there. Instead of buying yesterday's solution, you want to buy the best solution, which is current, which is promising.
Yeah, and sometimes also city doesn't know what it's buying or what it's procuring, and that's why we also need like intensify the innovative public procurement and the processes related to that. If there's only like one company in the market who is providing the service, well, have an open dialogue with them and challenge them to some extent. But I think that's the way to go then.
Okay.
Yeah.
In other words, what we're saying, we're moving to an age, if we want to see public services being digitized to good quality, which are intuitive, user-centric, we have to change the way we as a public are procuring and buying things. Okay? I think this is one takeaway from this conversation. Otherwise, we'll stuck to yesterday's solutions, today's problems, and we don't want that. We don't want the worst possible solutions because it's just public paying and there's this sort of black box of procuring. Okay, that's one takeaway, and I think this is where the risk-taking comes in, and the boldness you just mentioned is quite important because you have to be able to risk and justify that to the public and journalists that you're doing this kind of new approach. Okay? Anyone commenting on this is something we'd like to see more of the future? Anyone?
Yes.
Go ahead, Iveta. That was a yes. I like that. I like that yes.
Yeah, if I may add that in Latvian public administration, probably we have the same problem as an agile approach. The project management is not yet fully established, and we are at least from a regulatory point of view working with traditional waterfall-style development process, or we mixed them together. And when working on our state aid platform, actually the biggest challenge was balancing constantly changing external conditions, which required deviations from project and from procurement. And so it means that we have to continue the digitalization process successfully. Public administration needs to adapt the agile approach as much as it is possible.
Great. Kylie, have you adopted this approach? Obviously you have, with personalized state. You can procure whatever you want, right, in Estonia? Quite easily.
But still you have to take into account the rules from the EU level.
Rules? In Estonia? You have them too?
In Estonia we have quite many rules and also
I
laws.
thought beyond that, with the new society you're building, who needs rules?
No. The rules are needed. Like
I'm joking.
Like we talked a bit before. Then there are still
new rules.
Yeah, maybe new rules, but still rules because nobody, or maybe somebody would like to live in
lawless society.
Yes, but I think that it doesn't look good.
So for the next panel we're going to have in 2024, we're going to have you speaking of the new rules for agile procurement. So that's there. Guys, we have 5 minutes. I'm looking at Valdis jumping in with questions from the audience. Is that jumping in or is that moving?
Yes, it's run jump.
Great.
All right. You can ask questions in the platform where the Q&A part is. And there are some questions like, Latvia is quite slow in the digitalization process. DACI ranks 17 in the Digital Economy and Society Index. How could we improve state support in this area? Or maybe there is some, we just don't know. So that was the question. Is anybody ready to...
Who wants to take, how can we move up the ranks? How can we digitize processes better? I mean, I think that's a question that we would like to hear from perhaps on a side. Estonia, Finland?
And also, sorry, Viesturs, also the comment, because working with state institutions, for example, or with municipalities, they're quite digitalized. They were actually first ones moving into the paper exchange, in my business at least, working with the companies.
Which is a compliment.
Absolutely.
Trust. Great.
Well, I can comment on this. We need to educate people. We need to educate our own staff, and we also need to educate the
competency.
Yes, capacity building and competence building. And we also need to educate our citizens, like, and also communicate with the citizens, like why we are doing the things we are doing. And that's the only way how we gain the trust from the people.
So competency builds trust, delivery builds trust, user-centric services, which are feeding our sort of satisfaction with the way things are being run in society, obviously builds trust too. So we can also give them more money, and we say, well, take my money and give me personalized services.
Yes, and maybe the technology itself is not purpose. And
no.
You have to keep in mind.
Quality
always.
of life. Quality
yes.
of life.
Yes.
Anything else there to add?
Yes. And we would need an Estonian self-esteem also in this area.
Absolutely. Are you looking at me?
So, just a short result on the question or the poll where it comes to digitalization in the public sector. Which approach do you think is more effective? Embracing calculated risks and innovation, of course, 54%. Of course, who wouldn't have that? But there was 8% who said it's complicated, and the people on stage should answer that. People don't count on this panel to answer this question. So, they know better.
Do we have any more questions from the audience?
Thank you.
We have 2 more minutes, is that correct, Valdis?
Yeah.
Great. I want to finalize. So we have 2 minutes to finalize, so 30 seconds each of us. Walking into 2024 with the speed that all this gave us at the beginning, we didn't have ChatGPT 12 months ago. Not to mention derivatives of ChatGPT, which just burnt, startups flying around every new month. What is the one thing you would like not to miss in your institution, and we'd like to advise and suggest for others moving forward in 2024? Let's start from Estonia and move and end up with Ted. Kylie? Advice, as you say, note to self in 2024.
Don't forget the users and do everything for the citizens, and user satisfaction is maybe most important, and don't forget to ask it and to use it, the feedback you are getting.
And build trust by
Yes,
that, and
indeed.
then being able to create this new society. Minna, over to Tampere.
Yeah, I totally agree. Take the people in, engage the citizens and communities, and also we need massive scaling up of investments and dedication of resources. So that's one thing. And we also need to maintain the strategic continuity. It's not there's no quick wins here. It's a marathon.
It's going to take time.
Yeah, it's going to take time. So we need patience, and we have to remember that there's always going to be those people who say that it's not going to work, it's not going to be a success.
The haters.
Yeah.
We know
so
them.
forget those, and then let's concentrate on right things. And the technology is there, the data is there. Now it's time to make the data work for the people.
Iveta?
Yeah, talking about digitalization, we always talk about technologies, processes, but at the end of the day, we do this for our customers, for society, for entrepreneurs, and I believe that digitalization can also help to improve entrepreneurs' experience in collaboration with state institutions. Yeah, and I believe that this could guide us to better future in cooperation, both talking about cooperation and also about further process of digitalization.
I like the optimism in this panel. Will this optimistic note on finalizing?
Oh, Of course, and I would like to add two things. Communication, I believe, is critical. Sometimes cities implement solutions, citizens really don't understand why and what it will do. So communication is critical, and don't try to do everything yourself. Create partnerships.
Yep.
Use other resources, other companies, other cities, other states, like one of the leading states, Latvia.
Great.
Hey.
Partnerships, using EU funding, more investments, more boldness, and above all, building trust with our end users so the services are intuitive and help to build quality of life in our cities and our countries. Along these lines, round of applause from the audience. Thank you, Uldis Atračuks, CEO of TET, Ivo Strupkai, CEO of Director of Latvian Investment Agency. Is that correct way of saying things, right? Director of LIA?
Acting director.
Great, acting director. Minna Säpyskä-Aalto, senior expert at Baltic Institute of Finland, CTO of Tampere, and Kylie Tam, Chief Digital Officer, Ministry of Economic Affairs and Communication in Estonia. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Viesturs.